So, we're routed. One thing that I forgot to say in the beginning was that this is the ideal project to go from a humbucker to a P90, because the pickguard's going to cover up any trace of any modification. Just all you need is to have a new pickguard made that'll take P90s, and this is the best guitar to convert. Now you can see we have, it's all routed out. Once you put the new pickguard on, you're never going to know that there was humbuckers under there. Yeah, pretty slick. So at this point, it's routed. There's some geometry involved here. Not the kind of geometry where you have to do calculations or anything, but just geometry about how tall the pickup has to sit and how long your screws are. So you can see, if my pickup was as tall as the bottom of this straight edge, that this screw, I don't know if you can see that or not. Can you see that, Greg? That screw wouldn't be quite long enough to go into the bottom to hold the pickup in. So we're going to need to make a little shim that raises the bottom of that so that the screw has somewhere to go and bite into. The other thing that you have to be careful with about on SGs is because the body is so thin and that neck pickup has to sit down so low, you don't want to take the risk of the screw running all the way through the body and going out the back of the guitar. So sometimes you'll have to cut these screws down in length. On this one, these screws are 1.5 inches long. So if your pickup is sticking up 1/4 inch above the body, that's 1.25 inches total length you'll have sticking down. That's 1/4 inch minus, or 1.5 minus 1/4 inch that you're sticking up. So how thick is this body? Ooh, it's 1 and just a little bit over 1 3/8. So if your pickup was sticking up 1/4 inch, that would only give you 1 3/8. That would only give you 1/8 of an inch of wood between the bottom of the screw and the back of the guitar. So we're going to want to cut this screw down about 1/4 inch, down to 1 1/4, which would mean that yeah, you can see we're going to have to put a little shim. Maybe not. Yeah, I got 1/2 inch of screw there, so if I cut it down 1/4, that gives me 1/4 inch. I might be able to get away without shimming that. But it certainly looks like I could probably use about another 1/4 inch of wood underneath that, because those routs are so deep. And this one we're going to need a good 1/4 inch to 3/8. So I need to make a little block 3/8 here and 1/4 inch here. Then I'll either screw that on there or glue it in. So I went off camera a few minutes ago and I made these little wood blocks to fit in there of the thickness that we were talking about, and I set it up so I could screw it in and glue it. Really, you could just glue it, but we're kind of doing this in a hurry, so the screws are going to help it hold the wood blocks in while the glue dries, so we can just continue to keep working on it. And I'm going to use a little bit of 5-minute epoxy, and I mean a little bit too, because that's all I got. Five-minute epoxy is a 2-part glue that you mix together in equal parts, and it's basically what they fix fiberglass stuff with it. I'm just going to throw that in there. Really, the idea is to just to get something in there that's reasonably solid. Notice that I just barely started those holes for the screws. You don't want to go out the back of the guitar. And that's going to hold that wood block in. You're only going in about 1/8 of an inch deep. Ta-da! There's our wood shims. Now, in order to P90s adjust in height and mount by these 2 screws that go in between the B and the G and the D and the A pole. You can see they stick out the bottom of the pickup. And there's some screws that go, or springs that go underneath the pickup, and that gives it pressure to push up and down. So we need to figure out where to drill these 2 holes down here into the wood blocks. And the best way to do that is to put your pick guard on and screw it on, and that'll help you center your pick guard. It's so easily done. So then I can take my pickup cover, I can take my drill and just go right into there. That'll mark it. So I'm just gonna barely give it a little push, so all it's doing is marking the position. I'm not drilling it yet, I'm just marking where it needs drilled. You can see 2 little dots here very clearly. So there's our position. That's very important that you get the right size drill bit for these screws. These screws are very fragile. They have a very small head on them. They're Phillips, and they're made out of brass. So if you get a hole that's too tight and you're trying to screw that down, you're going to wind up stripping that head out just like that. And they're about 80 cents a piece. And you don't want to break them. You don't want it so tight that you've snapped the screw off inside the hole, and then that's a big hassle. And you don't want it too loose so they don't bite into the wood. The overall outside diameter is 0.1. If you take the threads away, it's 0.75. So I need a hole about 0.8, maybe even 0.85. So I need to go get a bit, unless I already have one. Well, that's 90 thousandths. That's a little bit big.